Competent Communication Manual. It's speech number, sorry, I don't know, it's get comfortable with visual aids. The goal is to get through this with little time for preparation. Please welcome Brad Mueller, educating the Google generation. Educating the Google generation, Brad Mueller.
Definitely testing out this principle of last-minute preparation today. With this, certain technical difficulties in my lesson to all of you. I'm ready for my education tip on the next speech because I think I understand what it can take to get all this ready. I wanted to spend the morning talking with you about educating the Google generation. You may, from previous speeches, know a bit about my background in the PC industry. I spent many years selling computers to colleges and universities and got kind of a unique perspective of what that looked like. I also did a nickel at San Quentin, but that's beside the point. This is far as my past goes. But what I wanted to do today was talk to you about educating the Google generation and how that relates. Let me back into this a little bit. I have a professor that I got to know anecdotally at the University of Arizona, which was one of my big accounts, and his role, among many others, was to help the incoming professors get a sense for what a student looks like today. You know, to kind of break down the barriers of what it takes to educate these new kids coming in. And so this presentation is actually stolen from him, and I'm going to do my best to kind of muddle through and give you a sense of sort of what was presented to these incoming professors, as I understand it. And it talks about industrial age assumptions, kind of where education has gone and where it needs to go for students to get what they need out of their college experience. So welcome to Educating the Google Generation, the new way of thinking and learning. So let's meet the Google generation. Today's students who enter college straight from high school were born in 1994. Think about that. I have socks over there. Richard Burton, Ricky Nelson, and Truman Capote have always been dead. Weather reports have always been available 24 hours a day. Cars have always had airbags and CD players. Barbie has always had a job. George Foreman has always been a barbecue grill salesman. Go for Brad. Popcorn has always been made in a microwave. VCRs have always been VHS. They've never heard of beta. In fact, today it's CDs and DVDs. Ozzy's lifestyle has nothing to do with the Nelson family. CCCP, nothing but a bunch of letters to them. South Africa's official policy of apartheid has never existed during their lifetime. Tiananmen Square means nothing to them. The Vietnam War is as ancient history to them as Korea, World War II, and even the Civil War. Disco is something they romanticize about. Television has always been in color, has always had more than 13 channels, and always came with a remote. Cyberspace has always existed. Think about that. I mean, for most of us in the room, the internet is, it became during our lifetime. Confucius said, study the past if you would define the future. So education is the only career that has an apprenticeship that starts at 5 years old. Think about that. Right? We take these little people I have a bunch of them, and we start molding them from a very young age. Now, the industrial age assumptions about teaching and learning were, where education started, especially in this country, was there were factories that were being built, and we were creating this industrial revolution, and we needed people to work in these buildings. So we had to educate them quickly to be able to do their jobs. And that's where education essentially came from. So we use these 19th century methods to teach skills for the 20th century. Instruction was designed for 1 to 30 students, focused on basic skills, reading, writing, arithmetic, show up on time, and follow orders. So where is it going, right? What do we need to do differently? What has to change given this new circumstance of children today? Well, one of the challenges is that the old assumption is that every student should learn in the same way, educating the average student. So who is the average student today? Anyone know? Well, it turns out the average student is a 6'2" Chinese girl by the name of Steve. So learning takes place in the head, not in the body as a whole. Learning takes place in the classroom, not in the real world. So old assumption, new assumption. Children are efficient and schools fix them. Smart kids and dumb kids. Schools are run by specialists who maintain control. Schools are run by specialists who maintain control. Knowledge is inherently fragmented. Obviously, we've all been through the education system. There's many courses and subjects to take. There's a broad range of things that we learn through time. So if you place a 19th century doctor in a 21st century hospital, he or she would be lost. However, if you place a 19th century teacher in a 21st century classroom, he or she would be right at home. So there's 8 shifts that need to happen in this learning process. From linear to hypermedia learning, basically taking advantage of all these new technologies, right? The average student today coming to school has an average of 3 devices that they carry. 3. And professors and teachers in general have to learn how to use these technologies to help them teach these kids. From instruction to construction and discovery. From teacher-centered to learner-centered education. From absorbing material to learning how to navigate and how to learn. From school to lifelong learning. I know that's been a big change in my life. You know, instead of just trying to get through high school or get through college, education is an ongoing process. I think we're all here for that very reason. From one size fits all to customized learning, and from teacher as transmitter to teacher as facilitator. And from learning as torture to learning as fun. So hopefully today I was able to take you through what the Google generation looks like, the student of today, and how different they are from the time that we all went through school. The things that you have to take into consideration from going from 19th century education to 21st century.